Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Dad's Making a Difference podcast. Today, we are diving into the real journey of becoming a better man, a better father, and a better husband, and a better leader. Today's episode, I'm going to unpack 4 pillars of purpose that I took away from the Dad Edge Summit, a summit that I attended last week. It's Larry Hagner's live event, and it was an amazing experience. And I want to share with you these 4 pillars because I want you to imagine building a legacy through intentional growth, deep family connections, a resilient mindset, and daily actions that are going to echo long after you're gone. If you're ready to step up and make every moment count and redefine what it means to be a dad and a husband, then stay tuned. This is for you. This episode, the Dad's Making a Difference podcast, starts right now. Hello, my friend. I am excited to dive into this conversation today because this episode is going to dive into the most powerful lessons that I took away from the Dad Edge Summit. If you don't know what the Dad Edge Summit is, it's Larry Hagner's live event that he has put on every year, I believe over the last 6 years. And I had an opportunity to attend the summit last week. I went on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday down to Orlando, Florida, where I got to meet some incredible men, connect with Larry, guys in his leadership team, and just really be part of the experience. And I've really, really enjoyed it. And you might be asking me, Cam, why are you promoting somebody else's thing? Because I'm going to be honest with you guys. Larry has been in this game for a long time. He's been in this world for a long time, impacting fathers. And it was his podcast back in 2017. I was starting Fight the Dad Bod as a business. He had the Good Dad Project. And it was his podcast, an episode that I had heard of from his podcast where his son was in the back seat saying something and using his words of power. But it was an episode back then that inspired me to keep pushing in the dad space, keep becoming a guy who could coach fathers, help fathers. And so I was really grateful for the opportunity to be there last week. Now, Larry didn't know that until I shared that with him last week, but Larry's been on our podcast here twice, promoting not only the Dad Edge, but also his books. Dad's Making a Difference is a community of men who want to connect, who want to build a brotherhood. And it's modeled very closely after some of the mastermind experiences that I've had over the last 8 years. And one of those experiences being the Dad Edge Summit and the Dad Edge. So I want to be very transparent that I went here as a full participant. I bought in. I wanted to see what this was like to get together in a group. There's about 130 men there. And Larry's announced this, so I don't think I'm ruining anything, but this is the last one that he's doing. They're moving in a different direction. They're doing some different events. But to be there for this last one and to see the guys in that room, it was very impactful. And I'm going to start right from there, like what it means to be in a group, a room full of 130 men who are all there to become better husbands, better fathers, better leaders, better businessmen, and really better employees and team members and community members. And it was an incredible opportunity to see guys at all walks of life and all levels of financial success, all in professional success, to see how they interact with each other. And I'm going to give you some of my insights, my key takeaways from that. And I'm going to bring it all back together. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to give you 4 pillars of purpose. Because when I was reflecting on this experience, I really centered it in purpose. Now, the theme was man of action, but my takeaway was a man of purpose. And so I'm going to share that with you. First of all, I got down there and it was an incredible experience. I got to spend an entire day with men in his boardroom mastermind. It's entrepreneurial group, so business owners, business leaders, CEO suite guys, and leaders in other areas and walks of life are in that room. Small group, about 25 or less, and it was an incredible atmosphere, credible communication, connection. Matt Schneider was one of the guest speakers, and then another guy in the boardroom, his name's Mitch Felderhoff. He was the afternoon speaker, and it was an incredible, powerful experience, and I learned a lot through that. But I don't know if that would interest you as much as what I took away from the next 2 days. So I'm going to dive in today more about what my key takeaways were from the DEA summit in the Thursday, Friday experience. And so, first of all, I want to share the lens of community because when we are alone, I'm here in my home office recording this podcast for you. Hopefully, you're listening to this somewhere safe, and maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're in the vehicle, maybe you're at work, whatever it is, you're listening to it and you're likely alone right now. We as guys like to be alone. We like to do things independently. It proves that we can. We want to be able. We want to know that we can get stuff done. GSD, get stuff done. But the truth is, there's the old saying, the cliche: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go further, go together. That's why I created a community around Fight the Dad Bod. That's why I've created a community with Dads Making a Difference, because I know that we can go fast on our own. But if we want to go long, if we want to have results long term in our life, then we need a community of men to surround us. And as I sat in that room Thursday, Friday, I saw a community of men pushing each other and holding each other accountable. And it was very powerful. Now, as a guy who was new there, a lot of guys there didn't really know who I was, but I went there with no expectations other than to show up, pour into other people's lives, ask good questions, and bring as much value as I could. And I think I did that, but I also walked away with so much. And the temperature was set right at the beginning of the day when we were asked to do one thing. It said right at the beginning of the day, we were asked to text our wives. The leadership team members got up and he was facilitating a session. And he said, I want you to bring out your phone right now. First thing we're going to do. And I want you to text your wife and your kids this message. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to come back to this. I want you to write this message. I'm going to challenge you to do the same thing because it was incredibly powerful. It was an incredibly powerful experience. And he asked us to take out our phones and text our wives, our children, this same question. And I have it here in front of me. I just want to make sure that I get it right. And it says, in what ways, as a husband and father, what do I do best? And where do you need me to grow to be even better? So, as a husband and father, what do I do best? And where do you need me to grow and be even better? Now, we're in a room of 130 guys. Like, this is the start of the day. This is a pretty vulnerable exercise for that. Now, that vulnerability comes from shared experience. Like, these are guys who meet on weekly call teams. They get to know each other. They've been able to speak into each other's lives for a period of time. And you can see that relationship, even though they don't all know each other, in their little sections, in their little call groups, there's trust. And so men start to do this and they start to send this text. And I sent it to Kim. I also sent it to my kids. And I said, what do I do best as a dad? And where do you need me to grow to be even better? And I didn't get a response. And as we waited, and I'll talk about that in a second, but as we waited for the responses to come in, we were challenged to do something. And this hit home with me because going to Orlando, Florida from Lethbridge, Alberta is quite the trek. I left on a Monday. I didn't get home till midnight on Saturday for this conference. And so it took me away from my family a lot. It took me away from work, away from business, and away from my family. And they said, they challenged us as we waited for this text response to say, imagine your child calling you right now and saying, Dad, I miss you when you're away. Why was it so important for you to be at the summit instead of at home with us? And now they challenged us to close our eyes and imagine answering our child, telling them why 2, 3, 4 days away from the family with men in that room was so important. And you know what it did? It made me think how I was going to show up. How are we showing up? How are we showing up for ourselves? How are we showing up for our wives? How are we showing up for our kids? We go through the actions every day. Maybe we go to work so we can provide. Maybe we go to work so we can put food on the table. Maybe we go to sporting activities so our kids can get involved and build community. We do all these little things in our weeks, but how are we showing up in those areas? Because as you reflect on how you show up, I want you to think about and imagine the commitment or promise that you're making to your child every time that you leave the home. You leave the home to go to work. You leave the home to go play sports. You leave the home to go meet with other guys. You leave the home for a business meeting, or you come into your home office like I do for a coaching call. Every time I remove myself from my family, I need to be sure that I have a commitment and a promise to them about who I am going to be, what I'm going to learn, and how it's going to help me become the dad and the husband that they deserve when I return. And so that was a promise that we were challenged to make right away. So all these responses are coming in. They're coming in to guys' texts. And it was actually Jason McKenzie who was up on stage. He said, "Who wants to read their response?" And I looked around the room like, well, who's gonna answer what their read out what their wife answered them about what they need to do better. But guys put their hands up, they stood up and they shared. And I looked at my phone, knowing that also it was 2 hours ahead. So we were on Eastern time at home, we're on Mountain time. So my wife would have got at like 6:30 in the morning, but she was getting ready for work. And she said, "Ooh, Cam, that's a hard question. I'll have to think about it and get back to you." Now I'm going to be honest. There was some tension heading into this week. It was Canadian Thanksgiving, the weekend that I left. I was supposed to leave actually the Saturday, but because of the hurricane, it got pushed back. I left on the following Tuesday. But we got to spend some time together with Canadian Thanksgiving. It was great. It was amazing. We got to spend that time together. But it interrupted some already made plans. Also, I knew that by me leaving for a week, put Kim in charge and responsible for all of the things that need to get done. That means getting the kids ready, getting the kids fed, getting them to all their activities, multiple activities during the week, balancing her own work, her own health, her own workouts. It was all on her shoulders because I was gone. And I knew that was going to be a lot. But I knew that this week away was going to be very impactful. And she did too, but I could tell that it was uncomfortable and it was going to be hard for her. So when I sent that question by text, I didn't know what I was going to get back because I already knew Kim was a little bit ticked I was there. She was happy I was there, but I knew it was uncomfortable. And so we went through the day. I got no response. And then that night, I was FaceTiming with Kim and the kids. And she said, "I thought about that. Do you want me to text it to you? Do you want me to tell you?" I said, "No, you can just tell me." Well, my kids were still on the call. And so they told me a couple of things. So I'm going to share my takeaways from that conversation first. And I want you to think about your life, your relationship with your kids and with your wife. What type of response you would get from asking a similar question. So the question again, what do I do well as a dad and a husband? And where do you need me to be better? Where do you need me to grow? Okay, so don't forget that second part. That's the most important part. Well, first of all, my son, who saw the text first from the one phone we have at home, that's our extra phone, he put workout because dad works out well. And so I saw that and I smiled, but I just saw workout in like muscle emojis. And then my daughter responded and said some very kind words. And it was heartwarming, but neither of them said where I could be better. And so I texted them back, said, "Where can I be better? Where can I be a better dad?" And they didn't respond. But that night on the call, so we get to this FaceTime call, I'm talking to the kids, and I said to them, "Okay, where can dad be a better dad?" And my son spoke first. He said, maybe off your phone more, maybe not on the screen so much, and you're in your office a lot at night. Maybe we just say no screens as a family after 7 p.m." And he just fired those out. And it hurt, but it was good because I've been consciously trying to limit my screen time, not get sucked down the rabbit hole. I connect with guys in our communities through my phone, but I need to realize that I need to be present for my kids. I need to be there in the moment. I've talked about that on this podcast. It's something that I've struggled with. We've brought experts onto this podcast to talk about that exact same thing, and it's an area I'm still working. And I thought I was making good progress in it until my son reminded me that I wasn't. And it was really good for me to hear. So I need to be way more conscious about my screen time. And so I said, "Thank you, Braylon, man. I love you. Thank you for sharing that." And Maya said something that was interesting. She said, "Do sports with us." I'm like, "Well, I do sports with us." She's like, "Yeah, you do things with all of us, and we all do things together, and it's great. But if I wanted to go to the gym and do sports like shoot hoops or play volleyball, that you would go with me or you would come climbing with me, which is her thing. And I was like, okay, kiddo. And so through that, I read into that a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't, but I read into it that she wants more dad in my time. She wants more one-to-one time. And I made notes of that. So I appreciate them. I told them I love them. They left the call. And then I talked to Kim. And I talked to Kim for about an hour. And lots of reaffirming words. And I'm sure you would get a lot of reaffirming words as well. But the ones I was really after was the grow. And it was hard. And I'm kind of getting emotional right now thinking about it. But it was hard for me to hear because I work hard to be a good husband. I work hard to be a good father. I'm trying to do lots. I think we all are. And one of the things Kim said was, you're a fantastic husband. You do so much for our family. I love our adventures together, the activities we do. You're a wonderful dad. I see you with our kids, and it's amazing. And then she said, I wish I was more of a priority in our home. I wish I felt like I was a priority in our home. I don't feel neglected. And we do lots of things together, but I don't feel that I'm a focus. And I looked at her over that FaceTime and I was like, babe, I love you. I promise to be better at that. Because you know what? I live by my calendar. This is just an indicator. Like, we don't see what we don't see. Until I opened up my calendar 10 minutes later, looked, and I have block time, Cambray, Cam and Maya. Like, in my week, I don't have block Kim time. I was like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And I was taking for granted that our connections during the day were meaningful connections, but for her, they weren't. It was just us like doing life together, which is great, and we love each other, but not digging in deep together, not connecting on a deeper level together. She did not feel like a priority. And so from that point on through this weekend, I shifted my focus. And everything that I did was through a filter of boldly committing to a goal. Now, I want to read you that goal. As I was reflecting, here's what I wrote down in my reflections. I'm reading it off my iPad where I wrote it that night. I was thinking back to the promise I was making my family as I walked away from them that week and how I was going to show up back. And this is what I committed to. I said, it's really important for me to be here away from you so that I can be more of a loving, strong, present, and attentive man for you, my wife, and you, my kids. I'm committed to being a good husband for you. I'm committed to being a good father for you, and I want to be a great dad. My commitment is to be open, to allow others to challenge my assumptions and perspectives, and I am committed to being a learner because in my life, I've always been a learner. I've been able to commit to growth, to see growth as the lens in which I make decisions. And in that moment, I realized that I didn't know it all. There's times where we think we know it all. Guys, you're listening to this right now. You might, this kind of boring story, Ken, but I want you to just listen to this. I want you to challenge yourself. You're thinking about your wife right now at home with your boys, at home with your daughters, at home with your son, your daughter. And you're thinking about, I wonder if I was to ask him this question, what do I do well? And how can I grow? And what do I need to do better? How would they answer? I want you to ask that today. I want you to pause this. You're going to text that right now, and dig into that conversation with your family because that's what this is about. This is about you stepping in to your role, into your promise, into your commitment as a leader of your family. And vulnerability, that's a big aspect of leadership. And so I'm going to challenge you to do that. So this is an incredible experience. We went through the entire week. We did so many things, so much reflection and group share. And through it all, I'm not going to give it all away because I think there's so many good, valuable pieces that I think you just needed to be there for to get the context. But I want to give you 4 key takeaways, these 4 pillars of purpose that I took away from the Data Summit. As I was coming back on the plane, I started making notes of this. I was actually sitting next to a woman who she was a grandmother. The grandfather was across the aisle. So the 2 of us were sitting together. The grandfather was on the other side. And behind me was her daughter and her granddaughter. And behind and to the right was her son-in-law and her other granddaughter. And this family was like sitting all close together. And she was kind of leaning over and kind of like not reading over my shoulder, but it's dark plain and my screen's bright and it says Dad Edge and my reflections. And I start Dad's making a difference notes. And she asked me all about it. So we had a great conversation. And I said, "Oh, here, I'm doing some takeaways on this." And she said, "That's amazing. Let's talk about that." And then I was talking to her son. It was a pretty cool plane ride home. And I want to share with you some of these reflections that I got on that flight, over that 5 hour and 45-minute flight, direct flight home. These four key takeaways, these four key pillars. All right. The first one is this: I'm a learner. So personal growth and self identity is important. So the first pillar is personal growth and self identity. At the summit, we reflected on what it means to be evolved as a man, as a husband, and as a father. And creating a strong self identity is essential for this. It means knowing who we are and being intentional about the man we want to become. So, part of this is embracing our roles as a lifelong learner, someone who is open to change and willing to challenge themselves time after time after time, to commit to challenging yourself time after time after time. This foundation will shape everything. It forms our confidence and the way we show up for others. In our day to day lives, wherever you walk, your confidence helps you show up for others. But you do not build confidence without a challenge, without a commitment. That's Dan Sullivan's work. You need to challenge yourself, commit to that challenge, and you're going to build confidence through that. And from our confidence, we're going to be able to show up for others. So, my first key takeaway is this: prioritize your personal growth and self identity so that you can show up as the best you for those around you. This means prioritizing connection with other men, prioritizing connection with other men who are on a mission to grow like you are, prioritizing connection with other men who are ready to grow and optimize their health, their finances, their faith, their fitness, all of it. You need to surround yourselves in a community like that. And if you do, you will go further than if you try to do it alone. So that's my first key takeaway. Key takeaway number two, the second pillar of purpose. For me, it's family connection and intimacy. The second pillar of family connection and intimacy is all about building a relationship with our loved ones, a relationship that requires more than just being physically present. It's about giving full attention, presence, there, full attention, putting down the phone, turning off the distractions, and engaging fully with your family. True intimacy and trust grows from the small moments where we are fully there, listening deeply, showing that our family is a priority. This, my friend, will create a legacy of love and respect that our children can carry forward. My children will see how to love their spouse the way I love their mom. My son is going to see what it means to treat a woman by the way I treat my wife. My daughter's going to see what it means to have a strong, caring, loving, confident man in her life by the way that I treat her. So, family connection and intimacy is that second pillar. It builds on that foundation of personal growth and self-identity. Because once I know I'm committed to growth and I know who I am and I'm challenging myself and I'm committing to that challenge over time, then I can focus on this family connection and intimacy. The third pillar of purpose that I want to share with you is the power of mindset and positive reframing. Jason McKenzie at the summit went over positive reframing. This is meaning life presents constant challenges, guys. It really does. We are in the muck a lot of the time, but we choose how we see these challenges. Positive reframing allows us to shift from dwelling on the problems to finding solutions. There's a lot of time in my life I reflect on where I focused on the problem. I used it as an excuse. I used it as a barrier, as a limiting belief to keep me from getting to where I needed to be. But instead of focusing on the problem, start focusing on how you're going to find solutions. By focusing on what we want to create and what we want to grow rather than what we fear or dislike, we are going to empower ourselves to act. This mindset makes us more resilient, more hopeful, and more action oriented. You want to be a man of action. I know you do, because our families benefit from our action. So, resilient, hopeful, and action oriented are all qualities that our families are going to benefit from every single day. Every single day. So, the third pillar of purpose is mindset and positive reframing. If you want to learn more about positive reframing, we're going to dig into this both in my Fight the Dad Bod community and in Dad's Making a Difference. This is a powerful exercise of shifting our mindset from being problem and challenge focused to being focused on solutions and problem solving. All right. Pillar number 4, the fourth pillar of purpose. We've built our foundation. Pillar number 1 was personal growth and self-identity. Number 2 was family connection and intimacy. Number 3 is mindset and positive reframing. And number 4 is intentional legacy building. Intentional legacy building. Now, the word legacy gets thrown around a lot. I think about legacy about how what I do now impacts my family for future generations, both in relationships, in our faith, in our love for each other, in our finances, how we control our health. All these things that my kids are learning from me are going to impact future generations. That's how I see legacy. But for this fourth one, intentional legacy building, the summit reminded me that legacy isn't just about what we leave behind. It's about how we are living each day in the present, how our actions, no matter how small, will shape our family's culture and values. And we are constantly creating the family environment our children will remember and carry forward. Seth Studley was on this very podcast last year. Seth talked about family of origin and the impact of family origin has on our role as fathers, our development as fathers, and how we raise our kids. Seth Studley was at the Dad Edge Summit. He was one of the keynote speakers. It was great to see him and connect with him. And Seth just reminded me of this, that we are constantly creating our kids' family of origin, the family environment that they will remember and carry forward into their own families. So by being intentional in our daily actions and words, we actually create a legacy of integrity, love, and strength that they are going to take forward into their family. And then our grandkids are going to take forward into their family. That, my friend, is intentional legacy building. Now, these 4 pillars, they're not abstract ideas. They're practical approaches that we can integrate daily. I don't want to just give you some abstract thought. I want you to have actionable steps. So for example, when it comes to personal growth, set time aside for reflection or self-assessment each week. This is something that I've implemented. I sit down, I self-reflect, and I self-assess. Where am I at in my journey? Where do I want to be? And am I staying aligned with my goals? For family connection, for example, it could be something as simple as a family boardroom meeting each week to check in with everyone. I just got a book. Actually, Kim had it on my desk. Jim Shields has a book called The Family Board Meeting. We're reading it right now as a family. We're going to implement these board meetings in our home. It's intentional one-on-one time with each other, but intentional time together as a family. Each of these pillars requires consistency. And over time, that consistency is going to add up. Small actions are going to add up. So when I think about family connection, these simple actions of having a family meeting, like Maya said, more one-on-one time together. Like Braylon said, less distraction, less screen time, more connection. These things help build legacy. These are practical things that we can do. So here are some actionable steps. So you might be asking, okay, Cam, these sound okay. These sound great. How can I start incorporating these into my life? Well, here's how you can do this right now. I was thinking about this. I could see how I reflected on the summit. I was there, I had the impact, but I wanted to share that with you. It's been on my heart, it's been on my shoulders to share this with you, but I want to give you actionable things. So I came up with 4 actionable steps that you can do. Okay, so here's the first one for personal growth. Start a simple journaling practice that can track your goals and progress. It sounds too simple, but it's true. A simple journaling practice, whether it's writing a journal, typing a journal, voice memoing a journal, talking to AI to do a journal, whatever it is, this simple journaling practice helps you track where you are and over time see where you've been. You need to set goals. We talk about goals in both of our communities. You need to start tracking your goals and your progress. It has to be managed to be measured, is what I'm trying to say. So you can't measure your progress unless you've managed the steps along the way, which means journaling, not long, 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you need to do so you can track your goals and progress. Okay. So for personal growth, start simple journaling practice. I'm challenging you to do that this week. Step 2, to strengthen family connection. Dedicate distraction-free time daily, not weekly. My fault in my calendar was I did it weekly. You need to do it daily. I need to do it daily to engage with each family member individually. That's the tough part. That's the challenge. We can have dedicated distraction-free time together as a family, but how intentional are we being about being distraction-free with each family member individually? That's how you're going to strengthen family connection. So step number 1, personal growth, start a journaling practice. 2, family connection, dedicate distraction-free time with each family member. Step number 3, for mindset, practice reframing challenges into opportunities by saying, what do I want to achieve here? I'm against a wall right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm in a little bit of a barrier. I have a problem in my life that I'm facing. And this week, I was challenged to ask this exact same question. What do I want to achieve here? What do I want to achieve by doing this? And what it did is help me reframe my why, get really clear on my why. That way, if I know my why, I can aim for growth. I can take ownership. And by taking ownership of my journey, I know I have a more positive mindset. And I can positively reframe the difficulties that I'm facing as another step in my path to growth. And when you see difficulties in your life as a path to growth, it's easy to positively reframe them into actions and solutions. So for mindset, practice reframing challenges into opportunities and ask yourself, what do I want to achieve here? And for legacy building, take a few minutes each day to reflect on whether your actions are aligned with the values that you want to instill. Guys, this is so simple, and yet it's so hard. Are my actions in alignment with who I am and the values I want to instill in my family? If you implement those 4 actionable steps, you are going to be addressing the 4 pillars of purpose in your home, and you are going to be able to show up as a more present, engaged, effective, impactful, loving man, a husband, a father, a leader in your home. My friend, as we wrap up, remember these 4 pillars: personal growth, family connection, positive mindset, and legacy. They are the foundation for living a life of purpose and impact. And it's an ongoing journey that we get to renew each and every day. Surround yourselves with community. Reach out, go to dmdmastermind.com, fill out the form, book a call with me, see what it's like to be part of our community. If you are a man who needs a brotherhood around you to hold you accountable, to help you in these 4 pillars, then a DMD is for you. My friend, I appreciate you. Thanks for joining me today. I hope these insights resonate with you as deeply as they did with me. Let's keep striving to be the men our families need and to be dads making a difference. Until next time, take care.